Now we're going to get down to the nitty-gritty of what Indians are all about.
I still say we Indian people are believers in the truth. This is the way of life that was given to your people. You're born an Indian, you're going to die an Indian. Indianness is a good life. You're facing an Indian this afternoon.
Good Saturday afternoon out there, everyone. Welcome to your number one source for Native American television news. It's Mvskoke Vision, and I am Jason Salzman, your host here, as we begin our second episode under the new name, new banner. Hope everybody out there likes what we've done, getting used to it a little bit. I know it takes a little bit getting used to. I was joking with Jared just before we started. Almost called it the old name there for a second, but we're full steam ahead with Mvskoke Vision. We're excited about it. A lot of people out there talking about it as well. So same great stories, lots of great things happening here in and around Mvskoke country as we get lots of things, lots of exciting news to share with you. A couple of things coming down the road for the show. Want to definitely make sure that you're watching next week after. I actually had a chance to visit with the first Native American ever elected to the mayor's office in Oklahoma City, and that's Mr. David Holt. He is an Osage citizen. Got to visit with him yesterday up at the Capitol. Didn't have time to get it out to you this week. Definitely putting that together for next week, though. So lots of exciting things happening out there. Put on your radar. Lots of things going on here at the Tribe, and lots of great content on MvskokeMedia.com dealing with some of those things. I've got a lot of big news coming out regarding some of the things that we've been covering for quite a while now, the Murphy case and such, and some legislation from the National Council this week that we take a look at as well, and we cover that. So lots of things happening at MvskokeMedia.com, lots of things happening right here at Mvskoke Vision. And also, we love our home here at CW19, but always, if you're online, you like to watch your online content, don't forget to go to our YouTube channel and subscribe, because we've got things coming out daily, and it's content for you to share, watch there on your mobile devices. So a lot of great things to get to. We'll get to them right after this first break. Don't go anywhere. I'm Jason Salzman, and you are watching Mvskoke Vision right here on Tulsa CW19. And welcome back to Mvskoke Vision as we get started with our first story this week, and it comes to us from the University of Oklahoma. Actually, that's where I went and recorded these interviews, but our first story this week is on February 5th during the State of the State address from Governor Mary Fallin, her last one, term limits, it means this is her last State of the State address. There was a protest done. I think everybody out there has heard about it so far, but a banner unfurled from the balcony, and what not everybody knew though was who was behind it. Was doing a little research after it happened, and found out it was 3 Native women, indigenous women. So I thought, wow, that's an amazing story, and really wanted to reach out to them. Was able to reach out to them, these three ladies, and really just talk to them about what really happened, how it became, and the response that they've gotten since.
On February 5th, during Oklahoma Governor Mary Fallin's final State of the State address, a protest demonstration banner was unfurled on the balcony that read Oklahoma State of Despair. The protest and banner was spearheaded by 3 indigenous women, Ashley McRae, Sydney Gray, and Madison Lovell. We visited with these women to discuss how the idea came about and the response they've gotten.
We knew that the state of the state was coming up because we had seen it on Facebook. Otherwise, we honestly probably wouldn't have found out about it. But we knew that, it was Mary Fallon's last State of the State address. Typically, when governors are leaving on that sort of note, especially with the cruel and the tyrannical reign that she kind of imposed on the state of Oklahoma, she was going to leave, try to leave on a good note, trying to make it sound like she had done, all these amazing things. And we knew that that was going to happen, and we definitely wanted to make sure that we sent some sort of message to her that we don't agree with her policies, we don't like the things that she's done for the people of the state of Oklahoma and to the people of the state of Oklahoma, and also the way that she has treated the environment here in Oklahoma. We can't let her go on and continue on as if she had done amazing things when really she has caused our state to be in a state of ruins.
We actually received a lot of support, and I'm not actually very surprised because Mary Fallon is such an unpopular governor and such an unpopular politician, even nationally. But here on a local level, we actually received a lot of support across all age demographics and party lines, and just through different people's races and different tribal nations as well. We received a ton of support because I think what we did spoke for not just us as Indigenous women from different nations, but also for all people across Oklahoma, because it is not just Indigenous people or Black people or the people of color who've been disenfranchised by the state of Oklahoma that feel this. It's all people. So I think what we did really it definitely inspired others for sure. A lot of people really looked up to what we did that day, which I think is good, because we really need people of Oklahoma to wake up. We are considered a flyover state, and so that means so many things happen that just go right under the table here that nobody else understands, and other states laugh at us. We're a laughing stock because of the lack of political representation we have from, people that aren't Mary Fallon and other politicians that are in the pockets of these oil companies and don't represent the people. So that was kind of what we're up against, and I feel like we definitely sent a message that, we are in a state of despair and we need to do something.
After it happened, we got a lot of pretty positive reaction, as Sydney was mentioning, but beyond that, we're hoping that this action will inspire people to get out and come out to future actions to do something about it, because everyone in Oklahoma does not like Mary Fallon, and everyone in Oklahoma pretty much agrees that Oklahoma is in a state of despair, but now we have to do something about it and be proactive. And so that's why we have our page Stop All American Plains Pipeline, which posts a lot of environmental and tribal problems that are happening all across Oklahoma so that we can do something about it and take action. One of the major things that we've been working towards is a company called Arrowhead. It's actually trying to get an injection well over in Lake Thunderbird, and what we're doing is fighting that with a board of adjustments with the city of Norman. And we've also encountered other oil companies requesting variances on insurance policies so they don't have to insure what they're doing for their oil and gas wells, and that goes from workers' comp and then to oil spills, to environmental degradation. So it covers a wide variety of things that they're asking to not insure. So we're making sure that we keep them in check and that they don't try and do anything that harms our people or harms our environment.
I think what's so difficult, especially for tribal nations to understand, especially youth, because there's so little access to education on how you access these institutions, is that we as a political category have to engage with not only the federal government, but also the state government, as local governments, and as well as Indian tribal governments. So there's so many levels of just bureaucratic institutions and these things we have to jump over, these leaps and hurdles. So I think it really is important to especially let Creek youth know that, if we can't inspire change unless we work with these institutions to some extent, and so that I think that doing what we did, if it does reach our tribal youth and stuff like that, and it does send a message to them, it's like it needs to be kind of a wake-up call, especially because we have such low voter turnout in our nation specifically, and there's just a lot of controversy surrounding that and tribal council as well, that there's got to be some kind of gap to bridge. And I think that's why it's important that youth are leading these movements, because we're the ones who have the power to kind of tell people, like, this is really important, and here's how you register to vote, and here's how you vote for people, and here's how you find out about your candidates and all that. So yeah, I really do think that is important.
It's been wonderful working with other Indigenous women from different tribes, because we can kind of bring our traditions together, because we're all rooted in this land, we're all rooted in the environment. I'm Kiowa, so our creation story comes from our creator pulling us out of a log, so we come from the earth. So when it comes to talking about things like the environment, it comes down to the very core of who we are and where we came from. So it's very necessary that we talk about the original injustice that happened on this land, especially in Oklahoma being originally Indian territory and then now being the state of Oklahoma. So when we talk about environmental issues, we talk about who we are as Native people, and we talk about what the future is going to look like with Native people leading it. So it's very important, very vital to any actions or movements that happen in the future and that are going to continue to happen.
I think it was really important for us to be Indigenous women from the state of Oklahoma with our own unique stories of how our ancestors came to be here. Those stories are all stories of, forced death marches and trails of tears and genocide. So, for us to come back, reclaim who we are, stand up on behalf of our ancestors and future generations, I think that sent a really strong message to Mary Fallon, the state of Oklahoma, and Indigenous people. So we let, the settler terrorist people of Oklahoma, such as Mary Fallon and the government, know that, we're no longer going to allow them to subdue our people, to, delegate us to, a lesser category of humanity. But for our Indigenous people, we let them know that the time to rise and stand up is now. I'm joined by Native youth women, and I think that it's so important to, acknowledge that they're youth because, the youth really are rising. I'm watching, so many youth Indigenous women throughout the state of Oklahoma, standing up and, doing direct action. So, for those reasons, it's really important for us to be, Indigenous women, sharing this message with the state of Oklahoma, against Mary Fallon, against that kind of government and that settler terrorism, and on behalf of Indigenous people who are standing up now.
And I want to thank those young ladies again for taking some time out of their daily lives there up at the University of Oklahoma and visiting with me. And it's neat there. One of them actually Mvskoke Creek. So, I believe she said she goes to the Tallahassee ceremonial grounds. So, an alligator clan. So, that was the ties that bind there. We were able to talk about our Mvskoke heritage, and it was really neat getting to visit with all three of them. Well, as speaking of Mvskoke Creek, one of the Mvskoke Creek heritage, that is, one of the greatest facets of our physical heritage that we have at Mvskoke Creek Nation is the historic council house in downtown Okmulgee. If you've drove by, you've seen the changes that have been made, the outside wall, all the renovations. You probably can't see what's going on inside, but that's why you watch Mvskoke Vision, so you can see all of the great things that are happening on the inside before it's actually opened back up. The renovation was actually done by Kodak, the Council Oak construction group that's actually under One Fire Holdings, the business arm of the Mvskoke Creek Nation.
My name is Stephanie Condiff. I'm the general manager for Kodak. We are a tribally owned construction company, and we do commercial projects, government projects like this one at the council house. One of the advantages in working with Kodak is that we get to prioritize hiring tribal vendors and tribal people to work on self-performing these for economic development purposes, and also as a community partner to take and recreate spaces like the council house as we have here today. One of the exciting things about this project is that we used historic tax credits. The timeline on those are imperative, so working with One Fire through Kodak, we are able to be on time and on budget on this project to be able to add an additional $1 million to the project bottom line. This is money that the tribe couldn't go out for a grant on their own. They had to have a for-profit business. So One Fire was able to step in that position and add over $1 million of value here at the council house that otherwise wouldn't have been possible. One of the delicate balances of working at a historic project is to keep the historical value and intimacy of the space and add modern touches that will improve it for the use of tribal citizens today. And I think that was done very well here. It was a delicate balance, but you'll see that with the lift, which I'm very proud of the lift. We had to work with the National Park Service to help them understand why we would add something so modern into a historic building. And that's because in this space, they will have tribal council meetings. Citizens will be able to come here and be heard and hear what their tribal leaders are discussing. With the historic build of this, the steps are very steep, The handrails are low. It's just not very accessible to those with physical limitations or elders who may have had a knee replaced or may just need additional assistance. So we were able to actually argue that the self-governance of the Mvskoke Creek Nation to be able to govern in this space made it necessary that we have that lift. I feel that Kodak was important as a teammate in this because as a tribally owned company, we understood and heard the nation, and we went forward and said, this must be done, we have to find a way, and it's here today because of that commitment and working with the nation, working with our construction team to make sure that this space is accessible to citizens and is beautifully redone in the spirit of the ancestors who came before them. If you go around this building, one of the most important things is fire suppression. You want to make sure that this building is going to be here. It's monitored by MNBE through their monitoring system. We had a false alarm one day. They were on the phone immediately. We drove down and it was just a vendor working on something, but we knew that the system worked, and that made us proud to know that tribal people were responding to those needs. SNS Fire. If you think about a fire suppression system and how important that is whenever we will have this space recreated, and when Veronica and her team does all of the hard work, which is appropriating all of the walls and the floors and putting in each one of the exhibits. We want to make sure that that's protected. And then we had work from everyone from the gentleman who delivered our porta potty to be here on site was a tribal citizen from Okima on down. So we were very intentional in who we selected and who we could work with. And you can do that as a tribally owned company. And that adds a lot of value to projects like these. And I think it adds a lot of value to the historical memory of the project because people are very proud of this space. And they can go back and say, I did this on this project. I redid these windows. I sanded these floors. And that's a story that will continue from 1868 to 2018 and beyond. To see this building come alive, I look to my left and in my mind I see a hole in the ceiling, and whenever there was just so many things in this space where it made it uninhabitable for people to come in here. I think it's really incredible that in redoing this space, we are going to see active governance right here, making those future decisions on education and healthcare and the future of the Mvskoke Creek Nation. So it's really special to know the ancestors who were here before and then those who will come after us because they made the conscious decision to create this space again for governance.
And I want to thank Stephanie Cundiff once again for coming down, visiting with us at the Council House. And I know they're excited, and we're excited too. And as soon as we get some concrete dates on as far as when this will open to the public and be there, we'll talk with Veronica Pipestem over there at the Cultural Resource at Mvskoke Creek Nation. She has some information on that, and we'll talk with her, get that information out to you on MvskokeMedia.com, also here on Mvskoke Vision as that information becomes available. So moving right along, our own Kevin Barnett does a lot of video work for us, kind of man on the street type stuff here for Mvskoke Vision, also does some great reporting for Mvskoke News here at Mvskoke Media. And Kevin was able to go up to the University of Tulsa's School of Law as there was an event basically talking and addressing really the lack of involvement with natives in voting in elections, things like that. We've seen it here at Mvskoke Creek Nation. So Kevin brought us this story.
If you don't have the right to vote, every other right that you have is at risk of being lost.
The point of the voting rights field hearing is to get testimony from tribal members, community members, tribal leadership, and others to tell us about the state of Indian voting today.
This organization is undertaking something very important, which is to try to determine what barriers there are to voting, how to encourage Native peoples to vote, and I just think it's terribly important that Native Americans not only get registered and not only that we encourage them to vote, but that they feel like there's a reason to vote, and I think we've got a lot of work to do.
I understand why a lot of Native people don't vote, and that it's, I think, a rational response to years of neglect and years of people feeling like the system isn't theirs.
Native people won't have a voice in the conversation unless they vote and unless they run for office, and right now I don't think either of those things are happening enough, and that's part of why we have the policies we have, right, is because there has been a lack of participation.
A Republican and a Democrat that decided to run. The only way that we can be successful in making sure that Native Americans have full and equal access to the voting process is to engage with community organizers and people from the tribes themselves and the communities themselves to be able to explain and educate, voters on why it is that voting matters so much.
A generation ago, we had fewer wins in Congress and fewer wins in the state legislature than we do today. And part of the reason of that is that our people, I think, are more active and more informed. We don't want a member of Congress that is going to threaten our sovereignty and believe that it can happen, because in our history of all of our tribes, it has happened, and it has happened in a very terrible way. If we don't want history to repeat itself, we've got to be engaged with those congressional elections, those Senate elections, and then even more locally.
All right, we want to thank Kevin Barnett, and actually want to segue into another story from Kevin. He's been busy out there really crisscrossing and doing a lot of stories. He actually got some stuff from Big Brother. We'll be able to share that with you pretty soon too. Big Brother had their auditions actually at our River Spirit casino facility at the Mvskoke Creek Nation there along the river in Tulsa. So he was able to go up there and get some of that too. So we'll be having that in the coming future. But Kevin was able to go out to one of our elders. This is a great story here. On previously under our former name, we still had Elder Conversations. Now Mvskoke Vision, we keep going with those Elder Conversations. I know a lot of people out there really enjoy those. It's just a chance for us to sit with our elders and let them talk, let them tell about their stories, their life. And actually this elder is I'll say young lady. She's over 100 years old, and this is just a really great chance for us to visit with her and capture these conversations.
I grew up in Bixby, Oklahoma. That's where we live, and that's where I grew up. Then, where I went to the boarding school, my sister and I started to school. We couldn't speak English. We just spoke Creek, and we weren't allowed to, talk Creek at all. We got a spanking if they caught us talking Creek. We had to be on schedule. For so many weeks while we would work in the kitchen, and then they'd change us to the dining room or in the dormitory. We'd have to make beds, and we just was on schedule like that. Then I went to Haskell in Lawrence, Kansas.
If you ask me about my mother, what life has taught her and what I have learned through her, I could go on and on, because first of all, she's a good mother, excellent housekeeper, good example. Good example. In younger days, she canned, she sews, everything that your epitome of a housewife is. Mother was that. Plus her children. There's 4 of us, and her children came first. Perfect example of a wife and a mother. And, just always been so thankful for her. Of course, I say that now, she's 102, and we're just blessed to still have her with us.
All right, I want to thank Kevin once again, doing a great job there and getting some of the wonderful stories that we're able to share. And as I said earlier, such a great thing to be able to capture and keep these elder conversations that we have, and that we'll have them forever, and people can watch these and archive as they become archive material. And it's just a great thing to be able to provide, and we love doing it here at Mvskoke Media and Mvskoke Vision specifically. So great job there by Kevin, and really enjoyed talking with Dolly. Well, our last story of the week takes us to right here in the capital city of Okmulgee, one of the biggest events for the Mvskoke Creek Nation every year, and the Johnson O'Malley program, and the education department here at Creek Nation, is the Challenge Bowl. It's really a game format, almost like what schools would see as an academic meet, but it all pertains to Mvskoke Creek Nation history, language, politics, all kinds of things, just Mvskoke trivia. And all of these schools come from all over the boundaries to compete in the Challenge Bowl.
I'm Jackson Ridge Barnes from Union Anderson. This is my third time. It's great. I just love it here because I can meet with people that some people I know, some people I don't. And I'm one of those people who like to talk to like everyone. I've learned that the games don't really matter who wins the championship or loses. It's more about how kind you are to the other people. My favorite part is meeting my ancestors and helping them. Like when you order them food, and well, I usually talk to them some too. I love it here, and it just feels like home sometimes.
Okay, that's going to wrap us up for another episode of Mvskoke Vision here on Mvskoke Media's, not Mvskoke Media's CW19, Tulsa CW19. We want to thank everybody out there for always watching us, letting us know, we watch, we see you every Saturday. We love watching the show. That's what kind of keeps us going, and it keeps us really, motivated to put out all these great stories for you to see Native Americans out there doing great things. Mvskoke Creek Nation, getting your info on our own tribe here in our area. So a lot of people out there to thank, especially our viewers, definitely, and all the people here at Mvskoke Media that pull it together each week and get our content out there, and a lot of stories we're chasing down. As I said, stay with us for the next few weeks. We're going to have some really great stories coming up, a lot of great things to share. As I said, the first Native American mayor in Oklahoma City's history. That's a great story. I'm glad to be able to get that to you. Also, we're going to be bringing you some more from the vault, bringing you some archive material that we've had in the past, and bringing you back really from, I think, the year 1982 we had the last time, and so some years back. Actually, the year I was born, so it's really neat to look back and see that, and see what was going on at Mvskoke Creek Nation, especially with the video department, and look back then and see now how much has changed, how much has stayed the same. It's a lot of things that we hold on to culturally that just survive and really don't change much, and so it's neat to see that contrast as far as modern times and things staying the same as well. So we're going to have a lot of that. Also, as I told you, stay with MvskokeMedia.com. A lot of news happening out there, and make sure you're reading your paper. And if you don't get that, call us up. We'll get you hooked up. It's free for Mvskoke Creek citizens, so why not stay up to date, stay included on all the news that's going on at Mvskoke Creek Nation. And you can do that with Mvskoke Media, Mvskoke News, Mvskoke Radio, and Mvskoke Vision here on the television screen and on your YouTube channel. Make sure you hit that red subscribe button. You'll get all of our stuff as it's uploaded on demand right there in the palm of your hand, on your tablet, or anything that you choose to watch it on, laptop, whatever. So we want to thank you all for watching us. For Jared Moore, I'm Jason Salzman. This has been Mvskoke Vision. We'll see you guys next time.